Hello, my name is Liban. I'm the current president of the Somali chapter of the Internet Society, and thank you for joining us. We are celebrating or participating in the Internet Society Encryption Day. Today's title for our talk is Encryption Matters Anytime, Anywhere on the Internet. And we'll be joined by Mohammed Ibrahim, who is the founder of the Somali chapter of Internet Society, and I'll welcome him to begin our talk.
Thank you, Liban, and all the audience who are watching. I'm very happy to join you all, the people back home in Somalia and anywhere else, the chapter members who are watching. Encryption Day, it's a global day, and it's a way of raising awareness to all people around the world about why encryption matters. And this is very important phenomenon within the internet world. And the reason it's important is we have to feel safe when we use the internet. In other words, all communications, we have to feel confident that there's a privacy, there are integrity, all those things. So that's why it's very important that we educate our people. We need to inform them, we need to raise awareness, we have to explain what encryption is, and we're part of the campaign in the world to lobby our governments, to our legislators, others. And I will be doing a bit longer lecture tomorrow that I will be doing at the university, which hopefully I will also upload to the community. But thanks for the opportunity, Liban, and I know the chapter is doing a lot of other work. And I think this is the second year, if I'm not mistaken, that you're participating, and that is a step forward. And I'd like to hear more from the university students and others who online and using the internet. And the main message really I want to share with the community is encryption matters anytime. If you're talking to someone, if you're sharing information, privacy is important, security is important. And that's really what this whole campaign is all about. There's nothing diabolical or nothing sinister about it. It's one way of saying this is a platform we all use, and we need to use it properly. We have to all behave, I guess, and do the right thing as we use this technology. But also we expect others to do the same thing, including governments and global entities and anyone else. Of course, there are rules, there are laws that govern this. As long as we follow them, I think we'll be all fine. So that's really the message I want to share with you. And as I said, I'll be doing a longer session tomorrow that I'll also share online from tomorrow, which is a weekend in Melbourne. But I'm sure people back home will be able to watch. By the way, we can speak in Somali, Arabic, whatever. This is really an open forum. There's nothing strict about it. So the idea is to increase knowledge. So I will stop here. And if you have questions and any other interventions, they're all welcome. Thank you.
No, thank you for starting this. We'll just start with some basic questions. I think Raga raised a hand. He wants to speak.
Yeah, please, Raga, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me on to this presentation, Global Encryption Day. It's a great initiative by all of you. I just wanted to commend you for your efforts before I ask my question. So as you said, it's just an opportunity to kind of tell people and communities, why encryption matters. So I just wanted to kind of go in a little bit of depth about, actually what is encryption? People don't really know, and when do we use it, and how do we use it in the day-to-day?
All right. Well, thanks, Raggy. I think that's really what this is all about. This whole day, 21st October, we want to encourage people to pay attention, because we assume we all know when we're online what we're doing and how the internet works, but there's so much that people don't understand, especially in a place like Somalia, where the telecommunication rules are different. Sometimes it's a bit ambiguous. People are not really sure who runs the show. Probably my background. I used to be a minister once, a long time ago in that area. So I still remember some of the challenges, but I think we came a long way. But let's continue the discussion. Are there any specific things that you want to mention, Ray? Hello, Rage.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure what you're trying to say. It's just a really crucial feature of a safe and trustworthy internet to provide data security for any sort of sensitive information. So you're kind of touching on national security a little bit. I just in terms of the personal, the user, the person who's actually the people that are actually listening. So just kind of like, for end-to-end security, what can we do to improve our security situation? I know small things about encryption and security, kind of like, two-factor authentication, emails, and all this sort of things to protect the information. But, is there any other steps that we can take? And, just kind of, can you kind of touch on that a little bit?
Okay, see, there's so much to be covered if you really want to talk about encryption or security in general. But maybe today we really want to raise awareness without not going into the technical depth of the field. What we really
Right.
want to explain is the basic stuff. For example, a lot of our folks, Somalis, we, for example, use
Right.
mobile money to send and receive money.
Yeah.
A lot of Somalis use Gmail or emailing each other. And millions use the social media, whether they are back home in Somalia itself or around the world. All this is okay. There's really nothing wrong or nothing to be scared of. The only thing that I want to highlight is people must be aware that once you're online, once you're using social media, once you're using online business, there are other issues one must know. And one of the important things is the security. For example, if you're using financial transaction, you're sending money or receiving money, or you're buying something online, then you need to know that the the there are security implications. For example, if something goes wrong, can you get your money back? If you buy something and you don't receive, where do you go? You need to read all the small writing, the legal side of things. That's just one example. There are lots of other examples. If you're using the internet for example, medical reasons or health reasons, are your records kept properly? Are they safe? Are they secure? Can other people see? We're talking about hospitals, for example. If we talk about the legal system, the courts, is that information secure? If you're talking about the education sector, do people have their certification and education background secure, or can other people hack them and get them? So whichever industry we look at, there are implications in terms of encryption. But today, the 21st October, the encryption day, what we really want to highlight, it's the protection for the citizen, the average citizen who's using the internet. That's really where our focus is. We want to say governments in general, they legislate, they want to protect us, which is good. But sometimes we also have to be careful and say, look, how much of my work is secure and is personal? How much of it is public and anyone can access, if you know where I'm going with this. So those are really the things we want to raise awareness and make sure people understand for their own safety, security, financial security, privacy, all those things. So that's really the area. And as I said, I will be covering this bit more, both in Somali and other languages for the Somali community and others in the region to understand a bit more. So I'll leave it there for the time being, but other comments and questions, welcome.
Yep. Thank you very much for that.
Are there any other issues that you want to raise? If not, I will thank everyone, and we'll leave the Zoom meeting going on for others to continue and join, or they can write. I'll provide my email. But again, as I said, I will be doing a bit longer presentation tomorrow. But if there are any other questions or comments, please go ahead.
Thank you for sharing what you shared. We can end here if you like, but the discussion is always open for anything to do with being safe on the internet and any specifics regarding that. Or so even trying to explain how the internet works can sometimes take hours. So being able to summarize it here is fine. We look forward to your talk tomorrow, and we hope you join us again soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I thank you all and all the other people who are watching. This was really to kick start or to get the day's activities online. There will be other sessions in other Zoom areas. There will be a lot of other online, and my more considered I will provide tomorrow, and that will be also online. But until next year, make sure encryption matters anytime, anywhere you're on the internet. Are there any other questions? Can I see Rangi raising his hand, or that's from last time?
No, I
No,
think that's
that's really,
what it's on.
yeah.
Okay, well, I want to thank you all, and I will let everyone know that I'm available, and hopefully tomorrow those who want to join, they're also welcome. In the meantime, happy Encryption Day, and then look after yourselves online.
All right, thank you, Mohammed, and anyone else who joined us on the recording here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, take care. Hello and welcome. I want to thank the Internet Society Chapter of Somalia first for the invitation. And in this short presentation, I want to cover encryption. In fact, the reason for the invitation and my acceptance of the invitation is to share my thoughts about encryption, but for this day, which is 21st October 2022, and I think every year at this date, it's Encryption Day or Global Encryption Day. So the next few minutes, I want to share with you my thoughts on encryption, a very important topic for Somalia for a variety of reasons, and I think it's very topical, and I hope I can explain or shed some light on very interesting and very highly technical issues. So I will keep it very basic. I will just do an overview rather than the specifics of this very complicated, highly technical area. So let me start with some just general concepts. And the first thing I want to mention is, let me just get this slide up. This information and more is on that URL, so I'll really encourage you to go and read a bit more about this. But let me just continue. My name is Mohammed Ibrahim. I'm sure some of you remember me. Many years ago, I was involved in the IT industry in Somalia at different levels. And yes, I'm the founder of the Somali chapter of the Internet Society. So today I just want to talk about why encryption matters. And I understand the chapter decided to call this day's motto, or the Encryption Day, Global Encryption Day, with this title, Encryption Matters Anytime, Anywhere on the Internet. I agree. I 100% agree. That is, I think, very important, and we need to appreciate that if you're online, your content, emails, videos, files, whatever you're doing online, they should be encrypted to ensure that only those who are intended to receive it. So let's continue. The way I want to go through this is really just to give you some background information first. The area is very technical. Encryption basically is the principle of application of cryptography in IS systems, or data processing, or sharing information, or sending data and information over the internet and so on. So those boxes basically explain that we start with plain text, and then we encrypt it, and then we transmit it, and then on the other hand, it gets decrypted, and finally you get the same information, hopefully, without anyone else seeing it. So end-to-end encryption, that's what we're really aiming. We're aiming to E2EE, that's as they call people in the IT industry who like to abbreviate things. So that's really the background. So cryptography is used to encrypt information so that only those who are legally intended to receive can receive it, and we should all then feel comfortable that our data is not intercepted or other people are not accessing it. Now, why is it important for us? A bit of a history. All along, human beings always wanted privacy. We all like to keep our information private unless we want to share with someone. And all the way back to the pharaohs and all those early Egyptian, we can go back as far as we want, that always there's a desire. So that's what this really highlights, that at some stage, even way back in those days, people were trying to encrypt things and then to hide from those who were not supposed to see, and so on. So it's nothing new there. But what's new now is the technology has moved. And now there are a lot more things are possible. Societies have moved. We have governments, we have private sector, we have individuals, citizens, all the other structures that we need to consider when we are sharing information, especially with the technology, when we're trying to transfer or share information over the internet. So governments come in, rules come in, legislations come in. We need to protect some data, but on the other hand, the authorities who are legally allowed, they might need to access some information through legal means. A very, very interesting area. In other words, what is allowed and what's not allowed. But at the end of the day, I sit on the side of the governments and I want the rule of the law to work. And if the authorities are allowed to access some data, of course, they have to get access to that to make sure that we all obey the law and so on. On the other hand, we have to also make sure other people don't see the data and so on. So that's really where things get a little bit interesting. In other words, why do, for example, governments are interested in limiting encryption? Because the governments sometimes, they also want to access some data and the technology might not allow, and we can cite a lot of cases. But that is really the history behind I guess the bit of the controversy where people sometimes want to understand why is it that governments are interested to access some data and should they be accessing and so on. In the case of Somalia, we're not there yet. The rules are not that concrete yet. We are still developing, and some of those laws are not even in place. So that makes a little bit, I guess, um, futuristic. We were thinking ahead. How do we want to cope with this when we reach at that stage? And I guess there's no harm in thinking about it. And that's what the chapter is trying to educate or allow people to understand or ask questions about that at this stage. Now, if we continue, I want to also mention the encryption itself. What is it? In other words, as you can see that map, a lot of countries have laws. There are some established rules and regulations that manage this, and it's important. It's important because for our security, for our financial security, for our personal data, health data, all those things. So I will leave that with you to go through that slide and to think about it. And I guess this whole area is really to make sure that we do the right thing, or people have assurance that their data is secure and so on, especially in Somalia and developing countries and areas where security is very important. And we understand in Somalia, the stage we are now going through, this is very, very important to make sure that the government can access the data it needs to make sure the place is safe, but also people have the assurance that their data is safe as well. So that is really why encryption is important. And the other thing I want to mention very quickly is to just highlight what actually happens, what is the need. It's the idea that we should feel comfortable that our data is safe, therefore we can happily use the internet and without not worrying about someone else accessing our data. Why is it used? As I explained, is to ensure data integrity, to ensure that end to end our data, our information is safe and other people cannot hack it or access it, especially where it can impact people's lives or financial situation or health and so on. I guess the other area I want to cover very quickly is just to make sure in the case of Somalia, because the technology in some areas is not mature yet, there are a lot of people who probably use the social media and other areas without not realizing that that information can be manipulated, without not even worrying about encryption itself. Just by not taking that into account, you can make yourself liable. You can make yourself, without not knowing, breaking the rules and so on. So that's really why it's important for people to pay attention to encryption. Now, to continue a bit more into the value of encryption and why is it important and so on, I just want to go through the next few slides to summarize the thoughts that we discussed so far. So let me first of all show you why encryption matters, and we can look at it from personal level security, where we need to make sure our private data and so on is secure, but also that will also then lead to the national security, which means as members of the society, we also need to think about the data we're sharing and if it's secure and if it's necessary for the authorities to access and so on. So in the case of Somalia, there might be a genuine need for the authorities or the government to have access to certain data, whether it's through the telecommunications or whether it's through the mobile phones and so on, that if it's encrypted, perhaps that might hinder some of the issues the government is trying to deal with. And what else can we also look at in terms of how encryption itself works? It's end-to-end, meaning some of the tools will allow you to do end-to-end encryption, but some of them they don't. So it's very important people to know that anytime you're sharing data or you're sending data, it is possible that it can be hacked or someone else can access it unless you make sure that's encrypted or it is secure in such a way that you have the necessary knowledge to make sure that it is not available to all. Now, across the world, as you can see, the rules that regulate in this area, they're different from red to the green. Some countries, they want to make sure that they can access the data of the citizens and so on, whether it's encrypted or not, on all the way to the green, where the developed world and the free world, the citizens' right is protected. So that means unless there's a reason for the government to access your private data, you're a free person. So you're a free citizen and you can be assured that that data is not easily accessible to anyone who wants to, unless there's a law that allows that to happen. Now, if we continue, I want to just talk a bit more about these particular issues. Since now we described what encryption is about and why we need, how to do it. How do you actually protect yourself? So first of all, you need to know a bit of the technology to ensure that all your data transfers are end-to-end encrypted, and also you're using secure methods and so on, all the way to even using passwords and just making sure your passwords are not easily hacked. So it varies different levels depending on what is the data you want to secure and so on. So simple things, and also finally, if you're dealing with something a bit more serious, you have to ensure that that data is encrypted and no one else can access. Also, you need to, these are just suggestions for our folks back home and the people in Somalia who use ICT and also who are accessing the internet for a variety of reasons. This is very important that you are up to date. You need to know the tools you are using and whether they are the latest versions and so on. Sometimes things that you were using for the last few years, they might not necessarily be as good as the latest version. So staying up to date is very important. Simple things, even just using two-factor logins. Why is that important? Let me just explain that a bit more. For example, let's say you're accessing your bank or you're accessing some database that's very important for you. You want to make sure that someone else cannot get into that. So the two-factor rule that allow, and I'm sure many of you already are using, but if not, it's very important that you implement this. What you can implement is allow to get SMS on your mobile phone and also to use your password. So that means whoever's trying to do the wrong thing, they have to jump through a bit more challenges before they can just get to your data. So that means not only they have to crack your password, but also they have to have your mobile, and they have to know also how to get into your mobile and so on. So basically trying to make it harder for people who are trying to do the wrong thing to access your data. And I guess the other thing you need to know is sometimes you might not want to keep some data to be available all the time, so you can erase them. Some of the social media tools allow that. So what you can do is you can say, look, after this is read, a few hours later or 1 hour or whatever it is, or a day, it should be deleted now. All these things are the tricks of the trade. And I would encourage you to practice this and to use it, because it really is important that you encrypt your data. It's very important that you secure your data. It's just as good as you own other wealth or valuable stuff you have. So you need to realize that the importance of the data and how to protect it and so on. And finally, I just want to just share with you very quick examples of the different types of encryption. I won't go into the detail, but graphically, I want to show you, for example, between these two young ladies or two people trying to exchange data. And that's really the mechanics. That's how the things work. When you own leisure time, please look at this, reflect on it, and it's just in a graphical way how it actually works. And if you're not doing that, I would encourage you to do as soon as you can, because otherwise you're exposed and anyone can get into your data. And the last couple of slides, I just want to also share with you my final thoughts on this. Encryption, if it's authority or a government or a department, it's really as good as its weakest link. In other words, it either works across the board or it won't work. In other words, if whatever you're encrypting and you're sending, the other person who's receiving, they're not careful, then it defeats the purpose. So it is really a system that should work both sides. I want to stop here because I had 10 minutes, but I think I went beyond that. But I wrote a bit more about this, and that document will be also linked to this, and you can read a bit more. Please follow the chapter's website. There's more reports that will come up. And I want to thank the chapter for inviting me to do this presentation. The Global Encryption Coalition, I think you should all try to become a member. It's a good movement, and we need to make sure that we're all safe online. Thank you very much.